Well, thanks, Michael. Thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear about you and sort of what brought you to where you are now in the construction field and general contracting, and a little about the company and sort of where you want to go with it and what you're working on. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory of you and how you got to where you are now?
Okay. Well, I started out at Florida State doing mechanical engineering and kind of realized that there's not as much money in engineering as there is in construction. So a couple job offers out of college. Construction one paid way more. It was in a way better area, and said, why don't I give this a shot?
Nice.
Went down to Fort Lauderdale, worked for a major contractor there for about a year and a half, doing some big work at the Sawgrass Mills Mall.
Yeah.
And happened to be in Sarasota it was during COVID. My wife's from Sarasota, so we came down here to visit, played golf with Jeff, who's the principal owner of the company, one of his daughters, and she's like, you do exactly what my dad does, right? I was like, oh, interesting. She's like, you should call him sometime.
Sure.
So I called Jeff up, one afternoon, and we got to talking, and he happened to have just let someone go a few days before I talked to him, and had me in for an interview, offered me a job, and I put in my 2 weeks and came over to Sarasota.
There you are. Tell us a little about the firm.
So we're a small GC. We do anything from $100,000 renovations to we just got done with our biggest project up at Trevesta, which is that development up at 75 and 275. That one was about $8 million. Put up a couple retail shell buildings. So our ideal size, probably anywhere from like 1 to 5 million, I'd say.
Sure. Is
a good little job for us. And we got 11 employees. We're a small contractor. We're above the pickup truck guys. We have all the insurances. Yeah. We're doing things the right way. Not a residential builder, but we're a little bit lower than like the Willis Smiths of the world.
Yeah.
Which is a good range to be in because all those guys have moved up to building the Moat Marines.
Sure.
Hotels.
Yeah, massive projects.
And it's left a good opening for us to do a lot of country club work and larger retail buildings, car dealerships, things like that. So
a lot of the redevelopment and redesign or the updating of some significant projects, but it's still a pretty good range.
Yeah.
Pretty good sized project.
And with COVID, with all the price inflations and stuff, it skyrocketed the price of a lot of projects. So what's a $5 million project now, could have been a $2.5 million project 3 years ago.
Yeah. That whole, how has that been when it, with cost of goods, is this came down at all? Is it still the same? Like, is it I know it jumped way up.
Yeah, it'll never come down, but it's leveled out.
Yeah.
The thing now that's helping the industry is that people are looking for work again. There was a period there, it was so busy that you had to almost beg some of these guys to come out and get on your project and get it done on time. Yeah. So subs are looking for work again, which is helping that out. And then because they're being competitive and they want to win the job, prices of labor and their overheads coming down.
Yeah, that was a challenge for a lot of industries, just getting people, right? I was talking with a large HVAC company, and they're like, well, we're just looking to acquire other smaller HVAC companies primarily just for the labor. We don't care about anything else they have. I'm not even their client list. It's like, well, that's great, but like we care more about the labor because we can't service anybody.
Yep.
Which is crazy to me. So tell me a bit about your role in the company and sort of, where you've sort of started from and what your goals are with JE.
Yeah, so I'm a vice president. We have 3 vice presidents. It's myself, David, and Oliver are the other 2 partners, and then Jeff is still the president. He's 70% owner. So we're in a 3-year deal. We've each bought 5%. We bought 5% last year. We bought 5% this year. We'll buy 5% again next year. At that point, we'll take out an SBA loan and buy out Jeff for the remaining 55% of the company. So currently, honestly, my goal is just to keep the thing afloat and make sure we can hit our numbers year after year, keep people employed. We've always ran things that way. We're not, Jeff says all the time, he's just trying to hit singles. We're trying to make our fee on a project, make the client happy, get out, keep our people fed, Keep
Yeah.
everyone paid. We don't want to be hiring people because we try and expand too much. So
Sure.
my first goal is just to make sure we could do that.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I mean, I'd love to spread our range. David's out of Tampa, like Riverview area. Go a little bit farther up north that way, and then Oliver is in Port Charlotte or Punta Gorda. So, right now we're kind of solely focused in Venice, Sarasota, but I'd love to see us spread out further, and
Sure.
cover more of that range.
A lot of growth.
Yeah.
All in that area.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite part of what you do right now?
I'd say the financials. So I'm out of the three of us, I'm like the self-proclaimed nerd out of the group. So engineering background, I really like doing numbers, but doing the monthly financials, finding money that might have been missed by someone somewhere, and just making sure everything's balanced. I'd say I enjoy doing that the most as part of my new role. A lot of what I'm doing has stayed the same. I'm still managing projects, taking care of clients on a day-to-day basis, but that's something new I've picked up that I've been enjoying.
What's the least favorite part of what you do?
In this new role, it's just that extra weight. I mean, someone calls you up with a problem, and it's construction. Like people mess things up all the time.
Sure.
That's
I've heard some stories.
It's the industry. So getting those calls in the middle of the day or in the afternoon, things are going smooth, and then you hear that we got a fire line that's located under the building, and we gotta relocate. It's going to cost $50,000 or whatever it is. Those are always the struggles, but I feel like every business probably has that same problem.
Yeah, and you figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So from where you were to now being in a leadership role with this company and working with partners, what have you had to learn, I guess, right, in taking on this role as you moved from engineering to construction to now being in a leadership capacity and being a business owner, right, and growing in that role? What are some of the things you're focused on, with yourself?
It's a different perspective that you have on everything. Like, it's no longer, as an employee, right, if things start going sideways, at the end of the day, you can leave, go get another job, probably get a pay raise, right? When you're the owner, the ship starts sinking, it's on you. So there's an added weight there, and there's an added freedom too, but you have to balance. It's a lot of self-discipline of balancing those freedoms, because no one's telling you what to do on a daily basis. You have to decide what you think is the most beneficial use of your time, basically every moment. Whether that's going and taking someone out to lunch, or it's staying at your office and getting out some subcontracts or doing some financial work that needs to be done. You're constantly making these minor decisions that add up. And that's an added weight too, I would say.
How are you doing that right now? Like, what's your process to sort of figure that out every day? And
I don't know if I have a process yet. It's nice having three partners because you can bounce things off of everyone. That part is very helpful. If I was doing a solo, I think that would be much more difficult.
I agree. I mean, I have a business partner in my business, and although I have a lot of resources, I always think it's nice to be like, all right, let's just iterate this real quick and make sure that I'm not just crazy, because I like coming up with ideas and need to poke some holes in them, make sure that
is this a good use of our time?
Like, should we execute on this or not? Let's make a decision on it, and yes or no. Very cool. What are some? Obviously, there's some challenges in the industry, right? Construction. There's always going to be challenges there. What are some of the challenges in being now a business owner? Obviously, you said the ship sinking, but outside of that, like day-to-day things, you're balancing some high priority tasks. Like, what are some of the things that are maybe most challenging about now being a business owner that you found like you're going to work on or are working on?
My biggest challenge and our biggest challenge as a company will be bringing in new business once Jeff is fully out. I mean, Jeff's never going to, his name's on the door. He's always going to be referring us if he's playing golf with his buddies that are building something. But for us, because he's done, it's all word of mouth advertising. It's not like I'm putting billboards up or putting ads in the newspaper to build a construction project. You talk to people and that person has you in mind. A couple years later, they give you a call when they're building
Sure.
a car dealership or something,
Sure.
you know? So developing those long-term relationships with people in the community that are going to have those projects coming up in the near future, that's going to be our biggest challenge.
Yeah. Just staying present.
Yeah.
Building a network.
And it really is, you want to develop a personal relationship with these people because
Sure.
it's just better doing business that way. When you've been around in the community for 40 years, it's people you've grown up with, you know, but for newcomers, like I'm not from Sarasota, my wife is, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I meet and have met, I have to cultivate that relationship,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. What are you seeing? So you mentioned the staff issue is, you know, slowly declining. You're able to be more effective in how that works. What are some of the other sort of industry trends just in general that you're seeing in construction?
You mentioned the HVAC company earlier, buying someone to get labor. There's going to be a problem with the plumbers, electricians, HVAC, the skilled labor. They're all older. The guys out there that really know what they're doing that you call when you have a problem, 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So I see that maybe not right now or in the near future, but 5, 10, 15 years from now, I could see that being a problem. People don't want to stick around and learn that stuff because you got to be an apprentice under one of these guys, and a lot of these guys are kind of mean. They're gonna beat you up a little bit on the job site, you know. But you have to learn from one of those guys that really knows what they're doing
Different era.
to become as good as them, you know. And I don't know how many younger people are sticking around to do that.
Yeah. I have heard that there's just not as many people that were willing to go that route, and you know, there's other options for business ownership with the digital age and some of that stuff. It might not be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, some people who are in that business and are doing really well, you know, started young. And
if you look at because we get wage rates all the time when we do time and material tickets or something, the electricians are making good money.
Yeah.
The skilled laborers it's not a bad place to be in.
There's a big lack of people as the boomer generation is sort of on the, outswing, and we have people coming that just aren't substantiating all those jobs and the demand.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting problem to have. Big opportunity for those who want to jump into it, who jump into a trade school, like right out of college, right out of school, and just go right into it and get an apprenticeship, and a lot of money to be made.
No one really ever brought up construction to me when I was growing up as a good industry to get into, but there's money to be made in construction.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of people that want to get into it. Even the comfy office jobs like what I have, you know, there's not a lot of young people that are going into that field. And as the older generation leaves, you need someone to fill that in. So wages are good in construction. People are making money. Just
it's interesting.
Get into it.
I graduated in 2011. It was a 5-year program. I did 2 engineering degrees with a business minor, and I primarily stuck it out for more than 4 years because the recession had hit in the middle of my college career. And in civil engineering, architectural engineering, which is what my degrees are in, the jobs pretty much went from insane to zero, and all of my internships dried up. The only job I could find even related in engineering was in the school, the grad school program. I was helping with, experiments. They were doing stress testing on concrete cylinders wrapped with fiberglass, and we were doing all sorts of stuff in the lab at Miami. I discovered it was cool, but I'm like, I can't do this every day, so I definitely don't want to do grad school here. And then I was sort of looking at the engineering career and being like, I just don't want to sit in the lab every day and do all that. Like, let me go out and talk to people.
I never would have guessed you got an engineering degree.
Yeah, right? Because I'm just not that.
With as much as that was what did it for me is I had an internship at a engineering firm, and everyone sat at their desk with their headphones in. And all you'd hear is clicking. No one talking to each other. There's no culture. I remember every single day, like at 11 o'clock, one of the women I would work with would walk up to her mini fridge, get her Diet Coke out, crack it open. And That was the movement for the day.
That was
you
it,
know, and it was
yeah.
on the dot. She wanted her Diet Coke.
Yeah.
I couldn't work in an environment like that for too long. And you strike me as the same way. You'd probably lose your mind, right?
I think I would. I have this very distinct memory of we were in the lab, you know, the computer lab, and we were working on a project. It was AutoCAD. We were all doing a project. It was on a water treatment, a wastewater treatment solution in another country. We were building this whole thing, a project. So I did my stuff. And I'm like, all right, I did my thing. Like, I'm going. Like, oh, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, oh, I'm going to my fraternity's having a party. We're going out. You know, we're going to do some stuff. And they're like, you're like the most social engineer I've ever known. And I'm like, I can't sit in a dark computer lab for the rest of the weekend.
Right.
I'm like, I can't do this. I need to be around people. And I had a lot of good friends in engineering, and I was friends with everybody. But and they're all great people. I just was like, I need to be out and doing things. And that's where the energy came from, not from the computer. And sort of, I guess, serendipitous that engineering they weren't hiring. And there was this whole, I think, subset of people that graduated where I graduated, where no matter what job you wanted, I really tried. I'm like, listen, it was a very big firm, AECOM, you know, they're a large multinational firm with every division you can think of in engineering. And I'm like, through a family connection, I'm like, listen, I'll work for free. Like, to be an intern, like, I'll put it on my resume that I was there, and I don't know what it is I did, but like, don't pay me. Like, I don't care. Just tell me I can come in the office, right? And like, we don't have any work to give the people we're paying right now, let alone bring on anybody else. So it's not going to work out. So it just serendipitous that didn't work, and I went into something else, and finance ended up being the route. But yeah, it's like there's this very interesting shift in the career trajectory in that time period too. Not to mention just a lot less people are going into skilled trade. Now that engineering, like there were a good amount of people going into engineering, but that's a very different thing than like a skilled trade. But still, a lot of that was challenging for that time period after 08, 09, where like projects weren't moving for a while.
Yeah.
You know, until things started finally recovering. But yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering how things will sort of progress over the next few years. How are things? Tell me some of the innovations or things you've seen in the side of technology in construction.
People on bigger projects, they're using the BIM modeling a lot, which is like conflict recognition software, you know, where they will build your building in AutoCAD, and they'll show you where, you know, a fire line might be running through tie beam or something, you know, or ductwork interferes with your electrical conduits, things like that. The size projects we don't get involved in that too much. What I could see happening, and what we're starting to see in the field, a lot of the equipment they're using is becoming a lot more hands-off. Like there's some skid steers. I don't know the exact name of the equipment. It's a beefed up skid steer essentially.
Yeah.
You know? And the guy just sits in there. They plug in the CAD model for the civil drawings with all the grades and everything, and he basically makes sure nothing goes haywire and no one's in his way. But it grades it exactly the level where you need it. And it's giving you the most efficient path, you know. So a lot more of that's going to start getting into the field, I think.
It's like the Tesla of skid steer. You're just going to like touch the wheel, make sure you're looking ahead, and
right,
it goes.
It's coming.
Wow.
And then I haven't seen one in the field, but I've seen videos of the robots that'll lay out walls for you. You plug a architectural floor plan into this machine, and it has some spray paint or something like that goes and it draws around and it chalks all your lines for you for the walls.
Well, that could change the staffing issue a little bit.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting part is how much of the innovation kind of gets rid of the need for some of the low level labor, and then how are you going to get the skilled guys if there's no low level labor around? Because guys start doing the laying out the walls, you know, and then they're framing the walls.
It's different. You're gonna have to change the way, I guess, trades are educated into certain roles, right? Like, what are the roles of the future? That was one of the things that really frustrated me, you know, going to college for engineering, is that a lot of things we did, by the time I graduated, you know, even though I didn't go into the field, the needs were different. Like you learned the basics, but you weren't being trained really for a job. You were taught things that were already sort of dated.
Yep.
Even the programs you used were sort of dated by the time you got out. So
the engineering degree is nothing what engineering actually is in a job.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I learned that one too because I was great at taking tests and everything. My first internship at an engineering firm, I was like, wow, I have really no clue what's going on in here. Huh?
Yeah, I remember doing my internship, and I was doing CAD, and I was helping with corrections that the county had given, and I'm like, this is what is actually happening day to day. And I watched everybody else and what they were doing and the drafting, and I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, maybe it gets different, down the road. I didn't get to find out. So, so tell me. So obviously, running a firm, you have responsibility. You have a lot going on outside of the office. What do you got going on, and how you balance it out?
Well, I got a kid. I got a 14-month-old. Another one on the way in
awesome.
December. So that takes
December
up a lot
babies
of
right
my
here.
time.
Me and my son.
There you go. How old's yours?
My son is 1.5. I got two girls also.
Okay.
I got a 3-year-old and an almost 6-year-old.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that stage right there. The 14 months, he's my favorite right now. He's so fun to be around.
Yeah.
I get home, he just runs up to me, wants to play from the minute he sees you. So I'm really enjoying that stage. The newborn stage is tough, as I'm sure you knew.
So that little window where like sleep is rough and there's not a lot of like structure yet. And
Yeah. So looking forward to doing that again in December. But, enjoying the stage we're at right now.
I love it.
So outside of that, I mean, I used to play a lot more golf before I had a kid. But going to the gym and hanging out with family, I mean, I got a lot on my plate, so there's not a whole lot of extracurriculars I can do.
How you fit in the gym and golf and things like that?
I go to the gym every day. I haven't been going every day recently, but I try to go every day at 6 a.m.
6 a.m.
Got to go in the morning, get it done with,
I agree.
get it over with, because no one wants to work a 8-9 hour day and then have to go to the gym.
Well, I think I told you when we talked at the Wine and Wealth event that I was going at 5. Like, it
Yeah?
just doesn't get done in the morning. It's not getting done.
How's that been going? Sticking
good,
with it?
Good now because I'm doing 75 hard, so
Yeah.
I'm there every day, or I'm walking. I'm doing something every day at 5.
Yeah.
I am attempting to be in the gym though, 3 to 4 days a week, just to be real with myself that I may have to just walk in the morning because my body's killed from the workout or something.
Yeah. And with kids too, you got to go in the morning when no one's awake. It's the only way that no one bugs you on your way out the door, and you could guarantee you could make it. So
yeah, we were just talking with someone else about this. It's like if you don't do it in the morning, I'm gonna get distracted. There'll be too much going on. By the end of the day, I'm tired, or there's an event.
Yep.
And then in the morning too, just being able to have no one, and this as a business owner, it's like as soon as you get to that certain hour where like people are up and needing from you, it's like, well, now my focus is completely taken off of myself.
Yep.
It's about everybody else the rest of the day.
Yep. About 7 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
Emails start coming in.
Yeah. So I got that solid like 5 to 6 where it's like physical, and then from 6 to 7, it's like, all right, I can do something else where it's like reading or whatever, and work on something I have going on. And then, okay, by 7:30, 8, it's like, all right, it's like increasingly amount of like, okay, there's more things coming in now, and how can you focus?
I think it helps too, like keeping your mind in a good place throughout the day, because it's easy to get worked up about things that might not need you to get worked up about, so it levels you out. Like, I've done something hard already. I'm kind of tired right now, guys. Tell me the problem again.
Yes.
Let's come up with some kind of solution. It keeps you level-headed, I think.
You've got all the frustration or anger
Right,
already,
right.
Yeah. And you do CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
So you know how that can go.
I go in there and just get my butt kicked every single day.
Soul crushed for a little while. You're
Right.
like, all right, got that out of the way. I guess
why I'm here.
Nothing else I'm gonna do today is gonna be that hard, right?
Right.
It's like,
It's a good. It sucks while you're doing it, but it feels good when you're
like, all right, cool, got that done. Now what else can you throw at me?
Right.
The rest of the day can't be that hard. So I think that's a lot of it's mindset, and do a little bit of meditation, a little bit of reading after I work out, but it's always like the mindset in the workout, and then you work, mindset there, and then the rest of the day you're like, all right, I can be completely sort of clear to handle all this other stuff that's going to get thrown at me, whether it's business or family or things your kids need, right? And as your
Yeah.
family grows, it's like there's a lot of dynamic needs there and all that. And golf. I suck at golf, so I don't really go very often.
I do too.
Unless see, everyone says that, but I'm really not good at golf. I think there's a very difference between somebody who's like, I suck at golf, and you're still like, not hitting in the water hazard every single hole.
Right.
Whereas like I'll buy a sleeve of balls and I'll have maybe one left by the end of a round.
It gets expensive.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think I can afford doing this anymore. Unless we're gonna play best ball, and I'm just gonna drop wherever you hit and not hit every shot. But it's nice to go out there. But it is a long day.
Yeah. No, you can't. It's hard to do it on the weekend with kids because you're being away from your family for 5 or 6 hours, and you only got 2 days a week to really be fully engaged with your family.
Yeah, it's tough.
And it's important to be fully engaged
during
on
the weekends,
I think.
Yeah, I know people who do during the week, and it's like if you're doing for business or client development, it can make sense sometimes, but like not regularly, right? It's like too much time out of the work.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That's why I've cut back a lot. I used to have a group. I'm going to start it back up here. I had a golf group. Had like 100-something people on Facebook, and I'd do monthly outings, 40 something people a month.
That's how Matt and I got connected.
Oh, really? Did you play in one of those?
No, I just got connected to him. My buddy put me in that Facebook group. My buddy Darren put me in that Facebook group. He's like, I do this golfing. I saw him post something. And I'm like, hey, how'd you get on maybe Founders or something? Like, oh, we did this group. And then I got in there, and then Matt and I connected, and we had coffee. We talked about it. Then little did we know that we were both inducted to Leadership Sarasota like the next month.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get it back up and running. I'm kind of slacking right now. Golf's just gotten so expensive. The courses, I try and reach out to these courses, and they want $85 a person.
Yeah,
and it's like I do
middle of the summer.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're not even booked. I'm offering to bring 40 anyway.
Yeah.
So it's tough to get people to commit to pay that much, and I'll get it started back up here.
So the group. So tell us about the group. So the group is for really anybody who's interested in golf outside of a country club.
We started out as like a beer league group.
Got it.
I know some guys in Tampa and Clearwater, where I'm from, that started one. I went and played at one. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
No one's that good. Everyone's drinking some beer while they're out there.
Sure.
No one's taking themselves too seriously. And then you got to play cool courses that you usually wouldn't get to play.
Sure.
So I texted him. I was like, hey, I'm going to steal this idea if you don't mind. And did the same thing down here. And had it going pretty good for about a year. And then this past winter was different because all the country club, they're all booked right now.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't find anything for the winter. And instead of calling and bugging all these people, I was like, we're going to push it off, and we're going to just make it a summer league.
Sure.
Those prices still haven't came down.
They can't be, like you said, they can't be booked to the summer.
No.
I mean,
no.
I know there's a lot more people here than before.
Yeah.
But are they really going out and playing at 95 degree heat?
Right. Yeah. Not a lot of people want to do that.
I don't think so.
So
I don't think so.
We'll get it going here one of these days. We'll get you out there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How many people? What you said, 1,000?
It was like 125, 150. Yeah. Yeah. But we'd do 40 I think the largest one I did was 48 golfers at an event.
That's good.
Yeah. Thinking about making one, just maybe a separate yearly event, kind of more network orientated, like a bunch of people in the construction industry or local businesses, and do it that way.
That'd be a great idea.
We'll see. I got a couple ideas.
Like you said, it's all word of mouth. Well, word of mouth of the business here.
Yeah. Well, it really did help me meet a lot of people and develop relationships. It's like some of my subcontractors and whatnot that have been beneficial. So
yeah, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Just be unique and do some cool things. So what are some things that you've learned as you've grown in your career or as a leader in general, but maybe from a mentor or wherever you're usually gain knowledge from? Like, what are some things that you've learned, and maybe what are some of the most impactful things that you've learned that have helped you?
So one that's hit home recently, and I'm going to mention Jeff a lot because Jeff's taught me a lot of these lessons.
Sure.
But he always said, we need winners. We don't need scorekeepers. And especially in our industry, you're always going to have an excuse on why something didn't get done on time. It's an industry of challenges,
Yeah.
And you got to figure out a way to win, no matter if the refs are rigging it for the other team. If you're playing a team that's 10 times better than you, you have to be a winner. You can't just sit there and keep score and then throw your hands up. Well, this wasn't a fair situation.
Right.
You got to learn to hit the mark and hold your word on the things that you say you're going to do. And that's a lot easier said than done sometimes, because things do happen that throw situations out of your control. But when it's in your control, you got to do everything in your power to get a win. And that one's hit home a little bit recently.
That's cool.
So
yeah, don't leave it up to the refs.
Yeah. You're always going to have an excuse.
Figure it out.
So at the end of the day, if you feel like you did everything in your power to make something happen and it still didn't happen, at least you can go to sleep feeling okay.
Yeah.
If you don't think you did everything in your power, then why didn't you?
Right.
And how can you do everything in your power next time? So
leave it all on the field.
Yeah, you gotta figure out a way to win.
Yeah. What is there one thing that you would go back to your younger self, maybe 10 years ago or whatever it was, that you would tell yourself if you could?
Besides getting into golf earlier, things have gone pretty well for me. So, I mean, I don't think I have a whole lot of regrets. I would say in college and in those younger years to be more focused on the networking, because really it's one of the most important things that you do as a professional. And, I spent a lot of my time in college going out the bars and networking with my friends.
Sure. Yeah.
But you have to go and network with the professionals, network with people you don't know, meet
Yeah.
the people that aren't in your circle,
Right.
that aren't around you regularly.
Different mindset. Right?
Yeah.
When you go into relationships.
I hung around the same kind of people doing the same stuff, so a little more growth probably in those earlier years would have been
I get it.
beneficial.
I get
Yeah.
it. I look back.
I was in a fraternity too, so I hung around the same guys for 4 years.
Like we're networking. We're out there. We have socials. We have mixers.
Right.
We
Probably should have went to some of the business and, networking events.
No, I get it. I think one of the mindsets I wish I had then. That's hindsight's 2020. It's easy to say that now when I'm not like a 20-year-old in Miami where there's you can go out and party.
Yeah,
but just thinking about ways I could have advanced myself in other ways outside of, okay, I'm just trying to get this degree done and then go to the next step. It was like, okay, what could I be doing that's different, talking to different people, businesses, stuff like that. I look at some of these, to the point about the change in the dynamic of people who are working, right? We're obviously losing some skilled trades and just a different dynamic of the workforce. But I do see some of these younger guys and girls that start businesses at like 18, 19, 20, could be an online business, could be anything, but they have a business. They're an entrepreneur, and it's wild to see it. I'm like, I just didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's not until I graduate that I have to be considering even my career, And that's one thing I look back and I'm like, I would just like kick myself in the ass, right?
Yeah.
That and maybe saving some other money if I could, like anything,
Right.
Just like trying to save a little bit of money, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. What else you got? What else you working on right now?
Chasing a couple jobs. Got an interview book that I got to get out tomorrow before I leave. I'm taking my contractor's exam this Thursday and Friday. There's no Pearson testing centers in like a 2-hour radius that have any availability for 6 months. I'm driving to Gainesville.
Wow.
To take my exams. So I'll get that knocked out, and then my license will be inactive for a year and a half. I mean, we can only have one license on a company, but that's one of the boxes to check off before we fully take over the thing. So
yeah. Well, that's cool. What's it like working with partners? Right, and you mentioned earlier, it's like nice to be able to bounce ideas off of them. What's that dynamic like? It's sometimes one thing to be like, all right, I do whatever I want because it's my business. It's nothing to work with somebody as a mentor and have them the majority owner and have other partners too. What's that dynamic like for you guys?
I think it's been going really well so far. We're all very different individuals. Like David is mid-40s, and he was a veteran for 10-something years like that. Got shot in Afghanistan, and then came back home and decided to get a construction management degree. So he's older, seen some more stuff, and he got that technical truck construction management degree. So he's got some of that background, and he started as a superintendent. So he's got a lot of safety and protocol type knowledge that's good. And then Oliver grew up working for an architect. His dad was an architect, and then started in the field too. And he's just one of those guys that knows how to like fix everything, it seems like, and is very handy. He owns a bunch of rentals, so he's always working on them and whatnot. I'm not like that at all. I'm not a handy person,
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it without one of them,
Yeah.
So having that knowledge base is really helpful for me. And then I bring to the table the financial, I think I'm kind of like the pit bull out of the group, where if something needs to get done, I don't mind hounding people for it.
Yeah.
So we've been a good team so far, and it's been beneficial.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find out where your strengths are and lean into that.
Right.
You need that. I mean, I can't be good at everything, right? And it's either you got to figure out who's going to do it or partner with it. And
yeah. And it's not to say, the three of us can step into any role and do it, but it's nice to have, hey, I need your advice and opinion on this, and I think you might know a little bit more than me on it. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to have that sounding board.
What excites you most about the future?
I think it's a lot of room to grow in Sarasota. Who knows when it's going to stop? But even when it stops in Sarasota, Northport, I think, is like the fastest growing city in America or something like that. If it's not the fastest, it's top 3.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work to be won around here, and I'm excited about that. And the role I'm in, I'd say one of my favorite parts is developing the relationship with the owner. Like, I get that one-on-one. This is a business owner. He has an idea of what he wants to do, and I can help him get there.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of cool people along the way in doing this. And so it excites me when we get a new opportunity, a new job. It's someone else I get to meet and see how their business runs, because you kind of get to peel the curtain back a little bit when you're building a building for them, or sometimes demoing their offices and building them new offices. You get a good look into it. It's cool learning that stuff.
I think we have a similar mindset on that. That's one of the reasons I do what I do and get to learn about somebody and their business, right? It's like, I wasn't sure what business I would like to go into after engineering wasn't the route.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, if I do this, I can talk to anybody and learn about what they're doing and have some sort of impact, right? You're building a physical structure for them. I'm building some sort of more of a non-physical structure for them. And it's a cool thing. So that's really
everyone
neat.
needs it too, you know. So you're going to meet all different kinds of people doing that.
Yeah, in both capacities. That's really cool. So, what are some of the? So you said you got down to projects as small as $100,000, which is still pretty big for in the space, obviously, but in general, like, it's not like a small job, but it's a small job. But going up to,
we're not really chasing those.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work. Majority of our work's for repeat clients. You know, we like to get on a campus or something and show them our value, learn the campus inside out, and they have no reason to ever go with another builder. You know, have all this knowledge of the building. So a lot of our work is repeat, and so we'll do those smaller things for repeat clients. We won't necessarily chase them, but you know, I've had clients call me up and want to like just demo a wall and move a door around. Send a couple guys out there, get it done for you.
So you're doing like retail. You said car dealerships. Like you're doing all sorts of commercial buildings. I mean, what's sort of like the bread and butter that you feel like is the opportunity for you?
I don't know if we have a bread and butter per se. It kind of is constantly changing. I mean, if you know how to build, you can build the majority of things. So we've done a lot of pet resorts over the year, Bayside Pet Resorts.
Sure,
We've built all those facilities. We're kind of finding ourselves into a little country club niche right now. Doing some work at Heritage Oaks, done some work at Venice Golf and Country Club, Berg Key Yacht Club. We did a little bit of work there. So,
cool.
And offices and retail, as I say, but those are all kind of similar.
Yeah.
You know, you're putting in some desks and storefront cabinets. It's not rocket science. So those are easy.
Hey, but you got to be handy.
Yeah.
Right. I couldn't do it.
Right. Well, I'm not physically doing it. I'm just hiring the right people to do it.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta know the space. Well, cool. So, listen, I also want to share just a few more tidbits on, being a newer business owner with a lot of room to grow, with a great opportunity, having been a little bit dynamic in your career to get to where you are now. For those who might watch this and maybe they're studying school or maybe they're just a younger entrepreneur or whatever, being dynamic with multiple business partners, as you said, you're all very variable skill sets and how you work together. What are some of the sort of what's the mindset you have to have to manage all that, right? You're a dad, right? You do want to get out and do some fun things once in a while and play golf. You're running a business. You have multiple partners. You got a high demand on yourself at all times, right? And you put that on yourself too to be better.
Yeah.
What's the mindset you have to have around this to really find success or to be able to persist?
I think you have to demand a lot from yourself. I never feel like I am fully complete. There's always something more I can be doing. And I don't come from a lot of money, so I've had that since, I first started working. And there's a lot of people that will complete a good job. You get complacent and you can slack off for a little bit. It's about driving yourself past those and maybe acknowledging those little wins, but constantly striving to be better than what you're currently doing, because unless you're like, Elon Musk or something, you really haven't. There's so many people in this world that are doing way better than you are. No matter how good you think you're doing, you can always be doing better. Yeah. And that sucks sometimes to think about, but you have to drive yourself that way, or else you're just going to get complacent.
You need a purpose, right?
Yeah.
To some degree. Yeah, Elon, wild guy.
Yeah, I'm not. He was the first super rich guy that came to my mind. I don't know too much about him, but
but like what you're doing, like what you do every day is a lot. I mean, getting to the gym, working out. It's never an easy workout. Like there's never easy. You never walk into a CrossFit gym and say this is going to be easy today. And then you go in a very demanding industry, which requires both mental and physical fortitude. You get like you said, you gotta be out, and you told me earlier you're walking the job sites, you're out in the heat. You enjoy that, but still, like you're not necessarily hammering things together, but you're out there, right?
Yeah.
And you're also dealing with finances and all that. So I believe the same thing. It's like just put more demand on yourself to force yourself to grow and have a purpose around it. And if there's, other than going back and telling yourself, your younger self, something like you said earlier, but if there's anyone else listening to this that you'd want to like instill a message upon, what would it be?
I think getting in a small business, that was the best thing I ever did. I went from a company that has offices around the country to a company with 11 people.
Yeah.
And you learn so much more working in that environment, I think, because you touch a little bit of everything. You really see how the whole company runs. You get more of an understanding of why the decisions are being made the way they are.
Yeah.
And I love it. I know some people like working for big companies and it helps them sleep better at night. It's structured. They get nice benefits, great health care.
Yeah.
But
great healthcare.
I loved working for a small company. So I would say if you can intern at a small company, if you can get a job at a small company, try it out at some point.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people really like it, and it puts you in a really good place. I think even if you decide you don't like it, you learn a lot. You can go back to a bigger company and be probably in a higher position than you would have been if you just stayed there.
Yeah, I do love that, right? You can always make a change. I think, and maybe it's a mindset that when I first started off, I had, because in general, generationally before me, people stay in their jobs for a long time. And it's like, I get into this career and like, you're staying there for 30 years. Whereas people don't do that anymore.
Right.
Maybe that's not the same shift people have coming out of school or, going from high school to college anymore. But I think you're right. Like, just go try something out.
Yeah.
You know, what's the worst that's going to happen? Okay, make a change. You know, I know people that are reinventing themselves in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Let alone 20s and 30s, you know. So,
And if you're confident in yourself and your just ability to be a professional in whatever industry you're in, even if it doesn't work out for you, you're going to be employable somewhere else.
yeah.
You know, so try something different out. And if it doesn't work out, like I said, you probably got yourself a pay raise. You'll go to a new job and be able to negotiate your salary again. You know?
I think people have drastic fear of and maybe lack of belief in themselves. I'm always like, listen, what's the worst that's going to happen if you try this out? Like, are you marketable in your old career? Like, could you go back to what you were doing? Like,
right.
And they're like, yeah, it was okay. So what's the big?
Yeah.
Right. Like, as long as you put some basic planning in place to do that, like, and you know, you're not in a place where like, okay, if we don't make this dollar, like my family's going to be destitute. But even so, there's a lot of motivation there, I think, in that people can get stuck and like, oh, like we're in this because I have to be here because if I don't do this, like we're not going to have this paycheck. But it's like, well, what if you went and did something greater than this? Or forced to do something greater than this? You're going to be forced to do more, right? You're going to be forced to actually change the station you're in, you know, and there's a lot to be said there. So I appreciate you sharing that. I appreciate you coming on and sharing a bit about what you're doing, and hopefully the next CrossFit workout is just as hard. And
I got my butt kicked today, so
yeah, man.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, brother.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.